It's a day late, dollar short, but better late than never. Here's my September TBR. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm JJ the Bearded Bookworm, and today I'm going to be doing my September TBR. And I just wanted to pat myself on the back a little bit because I did pretty good last month. I did, let me see, 4. I read 4 out of 8 books, which is not good, actually. But big part of that was had that steamrolling and then just a bunch of extra life happening, and I just got really thrown off and just wasn't in the reading mood for like over a week. So you're going to see a lot of last month's books being carried over onto this month's TBR just because I still really want to get to these books. Just with life happening and whatnot, I was not able to get to those books. And that first book is Kerry by Stephen King. I took this to work with me for a week and never once cracked this open. I just, at work I don't get a lot of chances to read anyway, but those little times that I do, like at my lunch and whatnot, I was just not in the mood whatsoever to look at a book or anything. I just needed a lot different escapism during that time. Kerry, if you don't know, is Stephen King's first published book, and it follows a teenage girl who has powers but is bullied quite a bit and kind of snaps, and it's kind of much more of a like thriller horror story than like your traditional like what we would consider nowadays with children with power and things like that. For this next book, let me tell you a tale of some of the things that happened this last month. Over the course of a week, my commuter car broke down. Then over the weekend, my other family car broke down. And so I ended up having to Uber back and forth. All fine and dandy. However, one of the big days that I got this Uber was the day we had a giant monsoon here in Arizona. I was rushing in, trying not to get as wet as possible, and woke up the next day and realized I completely left my book in the backseat of my Uber. So that was kind of the catalyst because I was really vibing and really digging Full Moon, and so it just really threw off my funk because I really wasn't in the mood to read anything else. Full Moon is book 2 in the Dresden Files, and as the name might suggest, it is centered around werewolves, and werewolves are my favorite fantasy creature. I really like that monster. I really like werewolves of all kinds, and as it turns out, this book covers 4 different types of werewolves. Luckily, my library had this book available on Libby, so I now currently have it on my phone and am reading it and trying to catch up and finish that as quickly as possible. The next book is Redwall by Brian Jakes. Redwall is the book that got me into reading as a child. I've said it many times on this channel. Taylor over at Made Between the Pages and I are hosting a read-along for this book that started yesterday. And basically, for the month of September, we're all reading it together, and we have a Discord where we are discussing, and we have it broken up by different sections of the book, so we can stay spoiler-free, as well as, share our general love of Redwall. The link for that Discord is down in the description. We'd love to have you. Only a day behind. From what I've seen on Libby and whatnot, it's fairly easy to get a hold of a copy of this book. Honestly, I didn't know there were any other fans of this series until a couple months ago. So far, it's been a lot of fun. The Discord's been made for about 2 weeks now, and we got a great group reading through this, and who knows, maybe we'll continue a read-along for the rest of this series. There's only 20 books in it. The next book on my TBR is the one that I'm currently reading right now, and that is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. And this book is heavy. Not only is it 880 pages long, but it is very science fiction. I feel like the English major in college that is in your chemistry class or whatever because they need it for their degree, but they have zero interest and really aren't all that great at science. That's how I'm feeling reading this book, because from what I understand, he did a ton of research into this book and to make sure that the science was sound based on what we know of science and physics and everything. And so it really shows. And thus far, I'm less than 10% of the way through the book right now, but it is very real. It feels like a real extension of what could happen in our world and our Earth's future as we venture out into space. Also, like I said, I'm less than 10% of the way through, and already there have been quite a few sciencey, nerdy references in this book that I've picked up on, and I'm sure there's way more that I just am not able to pick up on because I'm not familiar with certain realms of science and reference points. Next up is the first book that I was given directly by the author as advanced reader copy, and that is Nightmare by Chad Nicholas. I don't know a lot about this story. I've developed this habit of going in blind to books. I don't want to know. I don't read the blurbs even on the back, other than just trying to skim real quick and see if I might enjoy it. But I stay away from reviews or anything like that. This book is releasing the first week in October, and Chad is running a deal right now where you can get $2 off the ebook. And from what I understand, they're scarecrows, and usually horror stories with scarecrows are creepy as crap. So I'm really excited to read that one as well. My last science fiction book for September is the one that I'm actually listening to on my commute back to and from work, is Morningstar, book 3 in the Red Rising series. And let me just say, I haven't got the review up for it yet, but Golden Sun completely changed my mind on Red Rising. As much as I did not like or didn't enjoy Red Rising, Golden Sun swung the complete different way and is so fantastic. And let me just tell you, that ending shook me so bad that I honestly purposefully could not start Morningstar. And from what I understand, Morningstar takes where Golden Sun left off and really just dials it up to like 11 and just goes crazy on you. So my last two books for September are books that I'm reading in preparation for releases that are happening in November. And the first one, as I'm sure you guessed because it wouldn't be a video without me talking about Brandon Sanderson, is Edge Dancer. Now, I do need to finish Words of Radiance. I'm not including it on this because it's not super critical for me to reread that for Rhythm of War. However, I'm going to reread or finish Words of Radiance and also read Edge Dancer this month. Edge Dancer is like 130 pages, so that's a super easy read. Plus, it features my favorite Shard Fork bearer, Lift, who really rubbed me the wrong way the first time through, but I'm really excited now that I've fully understood the character as far as what happened in Oathbringer to start in, not just in Words of Radiance, but then read Edge Dancer and see her. Because I skipped Edge Dancer, and so when she showed up in Oathbringer, I had no idea who this 10-year-old was and why she almost felt like a character out of that really didn't fit in with the setting and the environment at all. The last book that I'm reading in September, this is becoming way more dramatic than I wanted it to be, but this last book is going to be The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. I just finished Poppy War, and it is intense, like a lot. So the Poppy War shows war and the trauma and the destruction that comes with war, not just on a big grand scale, but also on an intensely personal level, and how war and the atrocities of war affect somebody down to the individual. And it is the most intense, graphic almost story where honestly there were parts I was uncomfortable reading, but it showed, like I said, those atrocities of war on such a personal level that it's really made me think about just war in general and the effects on the individual person and how that affects a person. The Poppy War started like really, not slow, but small, on a small scale, and just slowly kind of ramped it up and just like really exponentially grew on the scope of the story. And so I'm excited to see where Dragon Republic takes that story from the ending of Poppy War and continues it on. So those are the books that I'm planning to read in September. Let me know down in the comments what books you're planning to read this month. I feel like I'm going to keep it at about 8 books a month. I feel like that's a good number. It's 2 books a week. And if I don't get to them, I'll probably end up carrying them over. We'll see how that goes. Depends on the book, really. I also don't want to get stuck starting a bunch of long series and get stuck in those and just have like the same series being recycled over and over every month. So I'm going to try to mix it to where, half are continuing series, some might be newer ones or just shorter series. Kind of got Dresden Files. Stephen King doesn't really count, but I'm planning on doing a book of his a month. Oh, I'm starting Wheel of Time in October. Little fun teaser for the October TBR. But between Dresden Files and Wheel of Time, I don't want to get stuck having just a bunch of long series on my TBR. So I'm going to keep it at 2 long ones, and then just as soon as I finish the series, I'll just plug it in. I might have a vote to determine which book is going to replace the finished series. But there you have it. Rambled on a little bit there at the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm JJ the Bearded Bookworm, and I'll see you next time.